I'm trying to break it down and not get too technical. But there's your app, right? Where you click buttons, where you see the picture of your product. Then when you click, every time you click and you say, okay, I wanna buy this, I wanna add this to my cart, right? The app has to talk to what we call the backend, right? And tell it, hey, this customer wants to add this to their cart. So all of that, all of those processes that keep running in the background as you interact with the app, that's what I do. So I mainly get, I'm the guy who gets the interaction with the app and in the back end, just having so that your app can present you with new information. Sometimes
There is a countdown timer, so
I
gotta
saw,
wait for it. Gotta wait for it. Yeah. Okay, so today I'm joined by Thabang, Africa Cause. Hey man, to have the name Africa, hey, doesn't it come with a lot of pressure, man?
no, no, it's not. It's a name I gave myself actually that I added to my ID. So I
Oh, you gave
knew,
yourself the name.
yeah, yeah. So I knew what I was doing by adding that name. It had um, a deeper meaning for me, So growing up, I was, well, yeah, from like grade 9, I was a Rasta, right? So
Oh,
yeah, so I was like, okay, now, so the one of the big principles in Rasta is that we're going back to Africa. You know that whole thing that,
yeah,
we're going back home, we're going back to Africa. So what I realized though is that essentially our journey and time on earth is just going back to ourselves. You know what I mean? So I just figured, why not name myself Africa just to symbolize that we're actually just going back by saying I'm going back to Africa. What I mean is I'm going back to the internal soul, that love in yourself, the beginning, the true beginning is in you.
yeah,
It all starts in Africa. It all starts with the new, and just
yeah, man.
spreads.
That's
So
so
that's
deep,
that's that was the idea, yeah. That was the idea. And it
And
sounds cool to
you
Africa.
Yeah, it sounds cool. I mean, the other Africa that I know is a
Mm.
radio presenter on 702. His name is Africa Milani. And I'm not
Oh,
sure, but I also think he has dreadlocks. And I'm
yeah.
sure that, well, I'm not sure, but I also think that maybe he might be within the same spiritual context as you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's cool,
And
man.
then, yeah, that's so cool, man. That's so cool.
Mm.
And are you still a Rastafarian?
Now, uh, to some extent, yes. I feel like we're hey, this is gonna be a very deep, deep, deep thing, but I feel like we're everything. We're
Uh,
Christian, we're Rasta, we're all of it. So yeah, I say yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm a human being, and that's the important one. Just a human being who has love for themselves and everyone around them. That's the whole idea of Rasta. Actually, it's just love. That's it. It's not the smoke ganja and the things. It's the love. So I guess yeah, like
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I see, I see. So earlier on, before we started actually recording, you were telling me about your traveling, um, and I was very fascinated because that's also something that I love. And currently, you say you're in East London, and then after this, you're traveling to another place and everything like that, and so forth and so on. And you even spoke about some website that you are planning to, unleash, where it's gonna be all about traveling and stuff like that. Tell us more about that.
Okay, so I realized I've been fortunate enough to work a remote job, right? So that affords me to, it just means as long as I have internet access, I can continue with my work. I can be wherever I want as long as I have access to the internet. So I figured, why not use that opportunity to make South Africa my home, not just my home in Joburg, but let's make South Africa my home. So the idea came upon me to just travel the country. My friends are travelers, so I just figured, you know what? Let me also just see, what's out there, see the hidden gems. So my focus is not really on the popular spots. I mean, I will go to the popular Instagram spots, but it's more coming back to the whole Africa name thing. It's more about like our roots. Like I want to see how we live in a lale, in the farms, in nature, how people live in nature.
Yeah.
And being a guy who mostly grew up in the township, that's always fascinated me, like how other people live like along in sync with nature and stuff. So yeah, I decided, let me
Mm.
travel around, see some beautiful people, see some beautiful places, see SA, and really experience this country and what it has to offer. And then
And any,
on the, yeah, oh, sorry.
no, you can
So I
continue.
was
Sorry.
saying on the website, so I have my own website, africacosa.co.za. That's where I post all the things I do. So I like doing some art. There's topics that I like talking about, so I'll post my articles there. I'll post whatever videos I'm making there. So currently I'm into traveling, so I'll be launching a traveling segment soon, which is coming really soon. Yeah, so you can check that out to see more what I'm into and what I do.
I follow, there are some YouTubers that I follow who actually, they're all about traveling. They go to these
Yeah.
places, they profile the place, they vlog the place and stuff like that. And
Mm,
maybe you should also consider actually, doing some vlogs, because it will just also be nice to see actual video of these places, particularly with you, because you're going to places which are not quite known.
yeah.
I think there is a market for that, because usually, travel vloggers will go to Cape Town, they will go to Durban and stuff like that. So you have a
Mm.
market in YouTube, I think.
Yeah, nah, definitely. So I am planning some of the content in the blogs will be vlogs. So by blog, I'm not writing words. I'm not, it's mainly just pictures and videos and conversations that I have with people. So what I'm really interested in, you'll see in my website that I'm really interested in the interactions with humans, learning, seeing what people think and how they perceive the world, how they perceive life. So it's more of that. It's recording, documenting the beautiful scenery, but also the beautiful conversations that I have with humans, you know what I mean? So
Ah,
definitely there'll be media involved.
man, I like that, man. I like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I'm joined here by Thabang Africa Koza, a software engineer by profession, who is currently working as a Python engineer for um, a retail tech company. And previously, he worked as a data engineer for a bank. Thabang holds a BSc honors in computer science and a BSc in computer science, both from Wits, or the University of the Witwatersrand. You spoke just now about a remote job.
Yeah.
Explain more.
So from due to COVID-19, as you know, people couldn't commute, couldn't go to work anymore. So companies had to make a plan. Our workforce had to make a plan all over the world on how we can keep working, but from home. So that's what remote working is. It's basically working from home, being able to conduct meetings, get your projects in time, get your projects in, get your projects done all in the comfort of your own home. So that's what remote working is not really going to the office, like a typical 9 to 5. It's just being able to work wherever you're at.
There was this show that I was watching at some time when I was at home. I forgot the name of the show, but it's a
Mm,
reality show. So what they do is that they follow people who
mm.
actually, these people they just travel. They travel the world. They go to islands, the Bahamas, Hawaii, and so forth. And these
Yeah.
people work remotely. Like all they need is a laptop, and they are good to go.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. It's awesome, right? So I like to say, I mean, yeah, we lost some lives. We had to sacrifice through COVID-19, but man, this idea really couldn't come at a better time, dude. It's awesome. The opportunity to work remotely is amazing. It's
So
amazing.
currently, you're working remotely.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
Um, as like can you just explain to the viewers more, like
Mm,
obviously currently you are working for a tech retail company as a Python engineer,
mhm.
uh, so can you just explain to the audience as what do you do, like in a remote area, you know.
So yeah, I work for a tech retail company, a popular one. So what the service that the tech company offers is it will give you products. You can go online, you can go on their app, you can, if you want to order what, I don't know, yoga mat, or you want to order food, or you want to order whatever. So there's things that happen in the background, right? So there's that. um I'm trying to break it down and not get too technical, but there's your app, right? Where you click buttons, where you see the picture of your product. Then when you click, every time you click and you say, okay, I wanna buy this, I wanna add this to my cart, right? The app has to talk to what we call the backend, right? And tell it, hey, this customer wants to add this to their cart. So all of that, all of those processes that keep running in the background as you interact with the app, that's what I do. So I mainly get, I'm the guy who gets the interaction with the app and in the back end, just having so that your app can present you with new information. Sometimes we have this cool feature where if you've on the food segment, if you order from a certain restaurant all the time, right?
Mhm.
It will learn what you normally eat. So it will say, okay, at this time, Ben likes McD's. Ben likes McD's for breakfast. So we'll recommend uh, a McD's special, or we'll have specials that at McD's for breakfast, or cool things like that. So I'm that guy that takes the thinking of the app and just presents it to you, if that makes sense.
There must be a lot of coding in this.
Yes, yes. So that's all I do. That's all I do. I just call, yeah, that's mainly what I do. That's why I need the laptop and the internet. All I do is just code. And yeah,
Because your current role is a Python engineer. I've never heard of such a. It's a cool name as well, like a Python engineer.
yeah,
So you use a lot of Python, I suppose.
yes, yes. I used to joke to my mother that I deal with snakes, and she believed me. She really did. I was like, yeah, no, no. I train snakes to do tricks at the circus and stuff. She was like, oh, cool, cool.
Yeah, because I can imagine if somebody is not quite aware of Python, the programming language, and you're just telling them that, hey, I'm actually a Python engineer. Hey,
Yeah.
man, they'll be scared of you. Like, this guy engineers, you know how big a Python is? Not even a cobra, a Python.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nah, it's a weird right? Python engineer. I guess I'm so used to it now. I never think about it, but yeah, if you tell people that, so I just say engineer to people because Python now, so yeah, lawyer, they'll think now you're doing. some African stuff now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about your experience in the bank and
Mm,
also just your experience in the tech space, and advices for people who want to get into the tech space, because I mean it's a thing right now. I mean AI, and all of those kind of things. I mean all those kind of things. But I want us to talk about this,
mm,
and maybe you can just distinguish between the two. Um, Software engineering, because I think when I checked your LinkedIn profile, under your name, it's written software engineer, right?
mm.
So, what is a software engineer, um, and is this still part of computer science, or software engineering is another thing? Because I guess it deals with software, but just explain this profession of software engineering.
Okay, so in the context of computer science, software engineering is a it's a very small element of computer science. Computer science is more the research field, the academic field, the coming up with new ideas and new solutions. So the software engineering part is, so let's think of, my thinking is, there's science, the guys who come up with new techniques to solve problems, the guys who come up with new algorithms, AI algorithms, the guys who invent mathematical papers, right? Or theories. Then there's the engineers. The engineers, they take whatever the scientists made and then they make that into product. You know what I mean? So that's what software engineering is. So in computer science, a lot of, for example, the popular one, machine learning, right? Computer science, in its purest form, just deals with how do we make, how do we make, let's say there was an algorithm that knows how to play chess or that knows how to see pictures, right? That this is a dog, this is a cat and stuff. Computer scientists are more focused on, yo, how do we make this thing fail less? One algo, the first version will be like, it will be able to predict 80% of the pictures. The next one, we're just working on getting that to 100 or as close to perfect as we can, right? That's science. The engineers just say, cool, you guys made this really cool thing. What if I took that and made a really cool app where people can identify a new, if they're just walking or hiking, they can take a picture of a snake and know if that's poisonous or not. You know what I mean? So the engineers, they do that. They work with the product people. So the product people will come up with the idea like, hey, what if I was walking and I was hiking and I saw a snake? I don't know what snake that is. That might kill me. I want to take a picture and know if that's going to kill me or not. So the engineers will take whatever the scientists invented, their picture technology, and create the app and create that mechanism of telling you, okay, we got this picture, we'll send this picture to, let's say, the brain of the app, the back end again, and we'll tell the user, okay, this is poisonous or not. You know what I mean? So the engineers take whatever idea that the scientists are working on and put it into real life. Yeah.
I mean, someone gave me a similar explanation when I was asking them about the difference between chemistry and chemical engineering,
Mm,
you know, and
mm.
exactly the way you've explained it. I guess I'm just thinking here that that's how science and engineering relate. Because in
That's the
science, we're
relation.
more concerned with the research making and stuff, and engineering is more, well, they still have research, but it's more on building stuff. Like now, let's create stuff, you know. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. And then for somebody who wants to get into the space of software engineering or the stuff
Mm,
that you do, Python engineer, or a data engineer, we're going to talk about that just now. What can you um, what can you advise to those people? Because I understand that computer science is very broad. I hope that there are other disciplines or other professions that they can go into. But those who wants to get into software engineering and similar professions, what can you say to those?
It's a lot of companies are looking for engineers. Engineering is a very practical career. So if you want to get into the field, you have to learn. It's good to it's good to have a fundamental understanding of the theory, but get projects under your, as soon as you start learning, start building, start making stuff. That's how you get into the field. That's how you're able to stand out in interviews. That's how companies are able to trust what you say, because your CV just says it's just theory, but they want to see what projects you've worked on. They want you to tell them what projects you've worked on, what you've learned from the projects. So it's a very, very practical field. And if you want to get into the field, you have to, from the first lesson, from the first thing that you do, just practice. I saw one of the questions actually in your community where someone says, how do you get into the IT field? Especially if you didn't come from that, is to start making stuff, start engineering, start actually building stuff. And it could be simple stuff, and you just grow and grow from there. So it's all about making stuff. Yeah.
So the projects becomes like your profile.
The projects become your profile, just like how for a researcher, it's all about the research you've done and the innovation that you've brought in, right? That sets you
Mm.
apart. So for the engineer, it's what have you made? Can we trust you with these sort of projects? How can you build a project from start to finish? You know what I mean? So it's all about, industry really looks at what you've done, not what you know. It really focuses on what you've done, not, you can know a lot, but if you haven't done it,
You were in the bank as a data engineer before this role.
yeah,
And banks are very fascinating for me, man. And also, what is also fascinating is what do you guys do for banks? Like
yeah.
mathematical people with mathematical background. And there's a lot of those. You have the quants, you have the data scientists, and everything like that. Um, you were working as a data engineer for a bank. What were you
Mm.
doing, man?
So I worked a lot. I worked in the same team as data scientists. So the bank had a model, a machine learning model that they were using in their platforms, and it could make predictions. So what I was doing was, to dumb a bit, like to take it back a bit, what a model does, a machine learning model does, is it takes some information, processes that information, and gives you a prediction, right? And that information that it takes in can come from different places, can come from the platform itself, can come from the user, it can come from everywhere. So what a data engineer is, it gathers from all those sources, it gathers all that information, and then before it gives it to the, what do you call it? Before it gives it to the model, it sometimes does calculations. So they call them feature calculations. So it'll compile those features, calculate, do some mathematical operations on that, give it to the model, then the model will predict. So that's what I was doing. I was getting all the features. That's just the one part of it. That was probably 20% of my job. The rest, the other part was the data. So the model heavily relies on the data. So you have to make sure that your data, as it was real time data. So as we create this data, is our data all good? Is it does it make sense? You know what I mean? There's sometimes where computers will have wrong readings and it'll just break your data and your model. So you're keeping your data sane, you're keeping your data clean, you're processing your data constantly. Because a bank, I learned, I had to learn a while at the bank that we do like just one bank can do million transactions, millions of transactions in an hour, just in an hour. Like if you were to see transactions coming in from the bank, it's thousands per second. You know what I mean? So we have to keep that data running smoothly, and so we're engineering that data from getting it, from it coming in, from storing it to using it. I'm just involved in that entire process. We call it a pipeline. We're just involved in that entire process. That's one of the things amongst others.
Yeah. Very
Yeah.
fascinating. Very fascinating. So now I'm having this curiosity to want to understand, or maybe not understand, but to moving from that to the tech space, moving from a bank into going to a tech retail company and working for
Mm,
a tech retail company. I know most of the time, especially as young people, we move from companies to companies for growth, for reasons like that.
mm,
Because these two worlds are very different. Uh, what you're doing in the bank that you've explained now, and what you're doing in the tech retail company, um,
mm.
quite very different. What inspired the move?
It was, yeah, a lot of people said that. Like, hey, dog, a lot to a lot of people, it was like, I are downgrading, chief. Okay, you're supposed to move forward, not backward. You know what I mean? But it to me, it wasn't. It's always a personal where you want your career to go, right? So, um, I work a lot in Python. That's my favorite language, and it that's one reason I wanted to work in a language that I just want to be perfect in one language, because in the bank environment you use a lot of tools and languages and stuff, and a lot of people like that, they appreciate that, but I just wanted to focus more on the Python and cloud computing. That's another, what do you call it, uh, what do they call these words? These pop words, these really popular words, cloud computing. So I also wanted to move more into that space, because the company that I'm at is more into that space, into the new way of software engineering. Unfortunately, because banks have been around for so long, it's been hard for them to shift with technology as it moves, because over the last few years, technology and the way we work has accelerated and changed in more than it did in the last 50 years. You know what I mean? So banks aren't able to move as quickly as that, especially older banks. So I wanted to be in a space that was more relevant, that required newer skills. And also I wanted a new environment. I get bored very easily. So I just wanted a new space that would really challenge me. And that's another addiction that you never learn from Vids. Vids, like, it gives you the edge. And when you grow up, you just want the edge all the time now. You never see it, but now you just want the edge, low key in everything. You easily get bored. You're like, guys, is this all I'm doing? Okay, no,
Yeah.
no, give me the edge. So it was that. And I'm not gonna lie, the remote part was awesome too.
Oh
That was
yeah.
lit. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. Um, we're gonna get into the questions, man. You received, I mean, I've received some very deep questions from the subscribers.
Deep, man.
You have seen some of them,
Yeah.
so we'll just go through them. You know, so there's a question here that says, "Hi Ben, hope you're well, man. A quick question for him. Can you ask him to share tips on how one can study any IT certification, especially if someone is new in the IT industry and does not have any study techniques, as this is a new field they want to explore?"
Yeah, it's so they say any field. So generally speaking, again, IT is a very practical field. You want to be in it. You know what I mean? Like even your I don't want to sound ignorant, but if you're going to be a mechanical engineer, you want to know the workings of a car or something, you know. You want to have experience of the car, you know, or something like that. So, or whatever engine you'll be working on. So that's the important part is getting into the field and being practical as possible. There's also fields like cybersecurity. That's I'm not well. I don't know that one well because it does sound kind of theoretical to me because a lot of they call them vulnerabilities, exploits, and threats. You know, they come in every day, but they're always documented. So it's like there's a lot of it's more like an encyclopedia. You have to know a lot of various threats that might happen. But again, there's always a practical field or a practical place that you can practice that. You know what I mean? So any certificate, the certificate is just a stamp. But if you want to get into IT in any field, practice and getting into it is the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, you will be doing it. You will not be studying it. So do it as early as possible.
And how related are these to what you guys do as computer scientists, as a software engineers? Like I'm thinking IT, I'm thinking ITC, I'm thinking like cybersecurity, like you've mentioned. Are
Mhm.
those part of the fields in computer science, or those are fields related to computer science?
So your ITC, so I think this is an opinion. So
Sure.
engineering is I get as I said, it has a relationship with science, but it's not really the science. You know what I mean? It has the relationship where engineering just steals the ideas from science and applies them. Then the other fields, again, I do not have experience in them, but what I've observed from those fields is that they are not quite computer science. They're more they're more they're a field of its own. I wouldn't say computer science, I would say another field of its own. But of course, you have to understand a lot of computer science what do you call them? Fundamentals or theories. So I guess you know what? Let's say computer science is the actual big one, and then everything just fits under it. Because now that I remember, there was this course that I made sure I'd forget after I passed it, computer networking. All right. So a lot of ICT people and cybersecurity people know about networking, and it's a very, very important and fundamental subject that you have to know in those fields. So, and that's part of computer science because there's a lot of mathematics. There's even just the field in mathematics, cryptography, just that's involved
Yeah.
in. You know what I mean? That just shows you that they are also in the mathematical field. You know what I mean? So yes, to answer your question, yeah, everything is under falls under computer science and mathematics also. And like I always take it back to mathematics, honestly. It always ends up there.
Hey,
So yeah,
at least what I'm doing is having some fundamental
it's
importance.
amazing. It's amazing. It's amazing. I don't wanna you don't appreciate the greatness that math is when you're panicking for the test. You know, that's why students
Yeah,
come to you like, hey, dog, I have to know these proofs. I have to because to them it's
sure.
just I'm trying to pass this test, man. I'm not. But if you take your time and spend time with the theory and truly appreciate what mathematics is in itself is honestly, in my opinion, the most alien thing we have.
You know, I have a student that I'm supervising for his honors. So he's doing some stuff. He's doing honors in maths, but he's doing some stuffs in uh, machine learning, you know, those type of things.
Mm,
Um, so he gave me this textbook of machine learning,
mm.
and I was just perusing through it. And man, I saw linear algebra in that thing, man.
Yeah.
Like I was like really,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is the stuff. And it was very fascinating for me, as as a mathematician, or as somebody who majored in mathematics, because when you major in mathematics, you get deep into the mathematics at a very theoretical level that you don't see the application of this. You're
Mm-hmm.
just so much into, okay, we can do this, and you're creating the maths,
Yeah.
you're creating the maths,
Yeah.
deriving
Yeah.
stuff and stuff like that. So when I saw that, like the linear algebra in action and the
Exactly.
multivariable calculus, man, I it blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. I
Yes.
remember that day when I went to class, I was telling the students to say, hey, don't belittle this anymore. Eh? This is crucial. Please,
It's
please,
very,
please, please try to
yeah.
learn this and try to,
Yeah.
don't, because they always come with those questions to be like, am I gonna get into a job and then like proof for every X there exists an epsilon? What is
Mm.
this? You know?
You actually do. To be honest, you actually do. That's what especially for data science, a lot of data science and engineering, you do in a way. You do in a way. So yes, I would actually say yes, you do. Yeah, they just stressed about the test, man. At that point, you can't tell them anything because they're like, I mean, yo, why do I have to suffer for this? You know what I mean?
For this, yeah.
Why do I have to suffer? So I remember even before, like while I was at Wits, I would think, man, maybe we're doing. I realized how great mathematics is and how computer science, how these fields was so fascinating to me. You know, it's just that the tests really stressed me out. So I was just thinking, maybe are we doing education wrong? You know, like because
Mm,
it's not that the kid doesn't understand mathematics,
mm,
because I knew with myself that I understood mathematics, but why am I failing? Like
mm,
what changed in my attitude that I'm no longer I no longer have this confidence. So what I noticed computer science did, why I was able to pass computer science easier, it was some people I notice in me, they prefer to have the problem, like to have to solve the problem and have to go digging for the answer. That's when you learn about. So let's say I say to you, "Hey Ben, please design me a a car, a racing car
mm,
that races, right? All by itself, that learns how to race all by itself." Dude, you will go from that to knowing you'll go from that to knowing how to race. Now I know all the knowledge of a racing driver. You know what I mean? It's like I know how to optimize through corners, hairpins. I know all those technical terms, and I know the mathematics that I had to find to solve those problems. It's like we're kind of giving the water, we're kind of giving the horse the water and be like, drink. And it's like, what's this water for? You know, instead of I don't know, like giving them the thirst before they're like, okay, I need water now. I need
yeah.
this. I need to learn this before. So, that's what I noticed is that some children are really good at some people are really good at taking in the knowledge in the current education system, but some children are just gifted in trying to solve a problem and learning from that, going backwards instead. So
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's worked very beautiful for us education, but I feel like there's a lot of potential that can be made in terms of learning styles and teaching styles. You know what I mean? We've innovated in so much in technology, but Teaching, bro, teaching, the most fundamental part of knowledge and innovation has just been left. Like, it's fine. If you don't understand it this way, it's fine. You're not that smart, I guess. And that's not the message, you know?
And also, that's not true. Because
That's true.
what you're saying is one thing that actually now as an academic, I'm starting to question that as well, to say,
Mm,
are the students just failing? Because,
mm,
like, it's just like, they are failing. But is the facilitation, because there are many factors involved, and even the way you test the students. Because I remember I had a student who told me that they suffer from, you know, forgot the name that they used, but it's like when they're under pressure,
mm.
they mentally become dysfunctional. Like they just don't remember stuff. And most of us are
Right.
like that. When you're under
Mm,
pressure, like you can't. So they were like, now the exam situation just puts them under that pressure.
yeah.
And now they know the work pre the exam. But when they're in the exam, when everything is happening, they forget stuff.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I was thinking
Yeah.
about that. I was like, are the ways that we're testing the students even very efficient for this time?
Mhm. I doubt it. I doubt it. To if like this is a fact, I've never finished a test at Wits. Never. I've never finished a. I've always not finished a test because it's like the 1 minute 1 mark idea is like ish. That's not how it is in the real world, guys. Like, okay, I get you. You're trying to build my efficiency and all that, and my thinking. You're trying to keep me tip top, but yo, why am I supposed to like? Okay, what if I'm not that fast at writing? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
was that was I was punished for being a slow writer. You know what I mean? And
No,
thinking slowly. So it's like, yeah, I was just never into tests, rather
yeah, no,
projects.
no. The
Yeah.
system is flawed, man. The system is flawed. I think because I've been very occupied with those thoughts for a long
Mm,
time now. Because now I'm seeing this real life. I'm engaging with the students, and now I'm like, so if somebody's a slow thinker, or if somebody perhaps they have a memory problem, because there are some students who their memory is not that good. That for them to learn a concept, it takes
mm,
time because of those kind of things. And now the
yeah.
students just going to fail because, well, they are very slow. They couldn't finish the exam, but
Mm.
they knew the answers. If they were given
Really?
time, they were
Yeah.
gonna actually get the
Exactly.
answers right. But now because of
Exactly.
time, the student failed. I'm like, come on, guys. But that's a very big debate, and perhaps for those of us who are in academia, we need to address these things and push for these things and stuff like that.
That's
There's another
why,
question. Oh, sorry.
sorry, I just wanted to say that's why I appreciate you being a lecturer. Finally, it's like so with the School of Computer Science was the coolest school because it had young lecturers who could relate more to the students and like figure out ways, you know. Then with math, man, math, we didn't like the math lecturers, especially the computer science guys, because we were like, man, these people, they are just, they don't care about you. They're like, hey, prove this. I don't care. You ask, what should I learn? They'll be like, everything, chief, everything. You give me one proof, and I've learned all of them. But you know what I mean. So I appreciate the new blood that Wits is putting. They're investing in the School of Math, dog. So shout out to you, man. Shout out to you for giving back, bro, and
Yeah,
just
no,
having
thanks.
blood and enthusiasm. That's cool.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
There's another question that came here. Hi, Ben. Could you please interview someone in the investment banking industry and those in commodity trading? I feel like these
Mm.
professions are rarely talked of in the Black community. So, investment banking, do you guys also work and dabble in investment bank? I mean, if you guys work in the banks, definitely investment banking. So, because it's another type of banking, so probably you do.
Yes. So, funny story. That's the reason why I went to a bank. I was trying to get to the investment part of the bank, the investment, what do you call it? Division of the bank. because we here, man. They earn proper. They earn proper there. You know what I mean? So yes, I had a couple of I have a couple of friends who are in investment banking. We're all over. We're all over, honestly. So yeah,
That's,
yeah.
that's dope.
I
And
I just let it go though. I was like, I fine.
yeah,
It's not my cup of tea.
uh, oh, I see. Somebody also
Mm,
here is asking about mathematics and financial mathematics degree and the opportunities in that. Um, so this is not related to computer science. But I'm sure in industry, man, you guys work with different people like data scientists and all of those
yeah.
type of things. Surely you can say something about the kind of professions that you guys work with or work around with.
Mm. Yes. Especially with mathematics and financial mathematics, man, I think you can go anywhere, man. You can go anywhere these days as long as you show that you can think. So, of course, a lot of them end up in the audit companies, the big four. A lot of them end up in banks, investment banks, and some of them end up in tech as well, as some of them actually branch into machine learning and AI and data scientists. So if they're worried, if they're worried about not getting a job, that should be the last thing. They can work almost anywhere. As long as you have the thinking, you're cool.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
Another question here says, please ask him if he thinks people who don't have a degree,
Mm.
um, who did boot camps, have as much opportunities as those with degrees in the field. I have noticed that many companies in SA want degrees, and it's really discouraging for us who went through boot camps and couldn't afford the university route. So they're just asking like the boot camps, getting sort of certifications or training through the boot camps versus having the degree. What are the chances and the opportunities that lie for somebody? I mean, contrasting between the two.
That's an interesting question because at the bank that I was at, I was hired same time as someone who didn't have a degree. They actually dropped out of law and then they picked up coding. They went through boot camps and they got the same job. In fact, just I think above me even. You know what I mean? Because they had the experience, because they had the projects under their belt. That's what we care for. So there are opportunities for someone who has done boot camps, who doesn't have the degree. What's important and what companies will always look for in engineering is projects under your belt. They want that. This man, he clearly knew I had the degree, but he knew a lot of stuff that I didn't know. And I would ask him, like, okay, so what is this? What is he knew? Especially with boot camps, the difference between boot camps and a degree is that the degree will teach you the fundamentals, the fancy science and mathematics. The boot camps will actually prepare you for work. You know what I mean? They'll prepare you for that AWS meeting that you'll have. I'll pull up there in the meeting. I'm like, bro, what? You in mind AWS? What's Azure? What's Lambda? He's like, dog, look at you and your degree. So he had to explain everything. You know what I mean? So boot camps are it, bro. You just need to have the what do you call them? The just not certificates. Certificates are not enough. If we go by certificates, the degree is heavier, and for various reasons, companies will look at the degree more than just boot camp certificates. But companies will always look at your experience more than the degree. So have projects under your belt. There's plenty of opportunity, especially startups. You don't have to look into only what do you call them, big companies. The startups, there's a lot of opportunity there as well.
Yeah. Well
Mm.
said, well said. Because I'm even seeing people who are self-taught data scientists. Like these people
Yeah.
just, for a year teach themselves, and then they become data scientists.
Yes. 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 It's that cool. It's that cool. You can do that. And yeah. So it's all about and the self-taught was just not knowledge. It's especially with data science, again, I'm pretty sure you can say those people had the what do you call it? They showed what. They didn't only say that, oh no, I
Mm.
did this thing. They had something concrete to show that, okay, I know this and I know this. And that's what companies will do when they interview you. That's another one. Maybe we can talk about sometime the interview process and because that's another exam on its own, that students aren't, we never get told about. But in the interviews, they'll focus more on your knowledge and not, okay, what is a processor? What is it? They'll be like, okay, here's a problem. Please solve it. You have 30 minutes. Do it. You know what I mean? And that's it. So it's as long as you have the ability and you can show the ability, self-taught or not, that's what all companies care about, that you have the ability.
So the interview process, because I know with some professions they have a case study, and then
Mm.
they have what do they call those assessments, bio what psychometric what and stuff like that.
Oh,
Um,
psychometric-ish.
yeah, those type of things. So for you guys in the computer science space or software engineering or any of the uh, occupations you've been through, how is
Mm,
the interview process, and having been through that and being in the industry,
mm,
surely you can give more advice on people who are going to go through either the interview stages or applications. What I've already picked up is that the projects are very much important because that's your track record, right?
yes,
Probably
yes.
there's more.
Yeah, so it depends on the company. Some older companies, your banks, your consulting, they'll always start with psychometric tests. And then then it will then depend on the team you're joining. So the team I went to, so it was a data science, data engineering team. They'll give you scenarios, they'll give you problems, and you have to solve the problems on the spot. So it's like, it was logical thinking. So going back to the proving of mathematics, the mathematical theorems that you have to prove, that the proofs really train your logical thinking. That's what a lot of engineering questions or case studies involve. They need you to just have logic. It should be second nature to you. You have to do it right after waking up. You always have to logically think. So the proof, I just wanted to go back to that point, that proofs. I just wanted to prove that proofs are good. And they have, you know
What
what I
a,
mean? But yeah, yeah. And
what
and
a
and
bar,
that,
man!
what a bad.
Like that's a
And
bar. Like
then
you wanted to prove that proofs are actually working. Like
yes,
wow,
they
you
prove your thinking. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a lot of that in the tests. There's a lot of you logically thinking and solving. That's a lot of it. The psychometric tests, yeah, they'll be there. What was I say? Yeah, but a lot of questions do require you to be logical, and that's involved a lot in your engineering. You are sometimes solving problems. So something that I did not mention that comes with the job is that things break at 3 a.m., things break at 2 a.m. or midnight, and they'll call you and say, hey, this thing is broken, please fix it. And it's probably something that's really deep. So when I mean, can you think logically in your sleep? You will be waken up in your sleep. and have to think logically and solve the problem. So I'm not joking by that. So there's a lot of, that's why practice comes into it. That's why practice just hones your thinking. And yeah, if you can do that, then you're good. You're good, honestly.
So then, how are your working hours? If you, it's more like you have to be on standby because I'm thinking of yourself as a Python engineer for this tech retail company that the app is always the app doesn't have like stopping time. The app is always active and they
Yes.
can be a glitch anytime,
Yeah.
uh, even on a
Yeah.
Sunday like this. Uh,
Yes. Now, if
yeah. So so
yeah.
so how are the work hours arrangement in that case?
So in that case, we have weekly rotations. So in some weeks you'll be on call, in some weeks you won't be on call. So in the weeks you're on call, you'll get a call. If things go wrong at 3 a.m., 5 a.m., you wake up, you solve them. You, if it's a major issue, some issues aren't that major. You just look at it like, nah, we can deal with that in the morning. But yeah, so it's a weekly rotation. Luckily, you're also not on your own, so it's not like, Africa, you solve it. There'll be like
Mm,
four of us that will wake up, and we all have to work together in solving it if it's a major problem. So that's the rotation. But since I'm remote, the hours are still contractually, 8 to 5, but you'll find yourself working at 9. You'll find yourself waking up at 6, at 5, just pushing work. So yeah, the hours are very, they're all over.
I had a student who actually asked me this question. I'm just remembering it right now, talking about your work hours.
Mm,
She asked me like, she was like, "Yo, you're so enthusiastic about this lecturing thing." So she was like, "What's so fulfilling about it? What really fulfills you about this thing?"
mm.
Because I guess most of them, they look at me and they're like, "You should be in the banks, man. Maybe as a
Yeah,
quant or something." You
yeah,
see,
yeah, yeah.
I guess that thing of like not seeing young lecturers. When you see one, you're like, "Hey,
What's he
eh,
doing here? What are you
what are you
doing
doing
here?
here? Like,
You lost.
you, well, you
There's
lost or
money.
something."
Come
Yeah,
on.
there's money outside, and you just hear. Um,
Yeah.
so they asked me the question of what is fulfilling about being a lecturer.
Mm.
Um, so I want to ask you, like, what's so fulfilling about your job, about what you do?
Man, it's so ever since I was a kid, I've always created stuff, like made stuff. I've always, I used to watch the shows. This will probably reveal my age, but like YoTV at like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. Like Gezi Zandla Zako, Paga Ipinife, those arts and crafts stuff. So I used to watch that and like I would be that guy trying to make them, and not only just that, but also be inspired to make something else. You know what I mean? So I've always enjoyed creating. I've always enjoyed having an idea and making it happen. And so the other, your conventional engineering requires material. You have to buy, tools, you have to have a workshop, you have to have, but software engineering, it's all you need is a laptop and you can make any idea you want. You know what I mean? So that's what's fulfilling at the end of the day. That's why I even have projects outside my work. That's why I even have projects. I don't only just do my job, but the exercise of coding and creating something, you know what I mean? Making something that be like, yo, look at that. I can make this cool. So sometimes when people ask me, what do you do? I don't say, oh, I'm an engineer, because that's, what does that say? I say I make computers. I teach computers how to do really cool stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's at the end of the day, that's what the 12-year-old in me is doing. It's like it's making this computer do really cool stuff. So that's the fulfilling thing. It's always been a thing that I've loved to do, like creating and making stuff. It just has always made sense and been natural for me. So that's the fulfillment.
That's dope. That's
Mm.
dope. Another question here says why he thinks SA doesn't have more tech startups or tech related inventions. Could it be our education or we are just not an inventive nation? Um, so do we have a lot of tech startups and tech related inventions? I know Cape Town seems to have more of this tech startups. I'm not sure about this part of, I mean, Johannesburg and stuff or Gauteng. Um,
Mm.
Tech startups and tech related inventions in the country. How far are we?
Last time I was at Wits in Bram. I remember there's this place called the Innovation Hub. It's a
Sure.
lab sponsored by IBM, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it was a, what do they call it? An incubator, startup incubator. I think there's another one further up in Auckland. I just forgot what its name is, but what I'm trying to say is their communities are there. So I remember in 2016, that's the year I started doing my own projects, and my friends and I had this idea of a startup, and we had MIT come over to SA to run a few courses, a startup entrepreneurial course. So we'd have a lot of people coming from different backgrounds, just building their startups. So for it was a I think a month course where you had to build your startup and present to investors at the end of the course. So last time I was there was that community. There was you could I'm not sure now because I'm all over Nyazula, so I wouldn't know, but yeah, I think, but also back when I was in Joburg, the startups, again, as I say, at the end of the day, especially with tech startups, all you need is a laptop at the end of the day. So even with my friends at the bank, we'd have socials where the guys will have hackathons. So for a weekend, you'll organize with your friends who are also trying to create their own projects. You'll meet for a weekend, will code throughout the weekend and just update each other. So it's a cool community. It's a cool space because you don't really need the infrastructure. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you just need your laptop and like-minded people. You know what I mean? So my point is, last time I was there was a community, but if you're not in a Bram or a Cape Town, for example, you can always find like-minded people who are always trying to build startups. But in the sense of where's SA in terms of startups compared to the world, yeah, I would say I agree with the viewer, because last time I checked, I remember Nigeria had a lot of startups. But the reason they have a lot of startups is because their banks, their financial system, there's a lot of financial startups, because we take for granted what our banks can do. Our banks, you can send money just easily. You know what I mean? Like, they give us a lot of convenience that we take for granted, but other countries actually don't have that. And that's why there's such a surge in startups. I guess, yeah, we just have, I don't want to say, we just have we have more stuff or less incentive. But again, also you can ask the education system. Our education system, most of us growing up, when you're smart, you're told in high school, man, go be an architect, go be this. You are never told, hey man, you can start a business, you can do this and that. So I remember a friend of mine, he has this tutoring company. He runs a tutoring company at home back in Sakane. And his focus was not only helping the students with their homework or with preparing for exam, but also teaching them the entrepreneurial spirit. Like saying, "Hey, you can be a businessman right now. Like if you want to start something." And that's not really encouraged in schools, I would say, other than entrepreneur week, that 1 week where we wear Jewish, look good, do some sales, and then that's it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we have a long way to go because fundamentally, I think maybe other countries instill that idea earlier, but we only learn about starting our own startups at what, in our 20s. That's when you think.
Yeah.
And by 20s, your brain has been wired that now I want a job. I want this, I want that, I want that. So it's like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if
That
I answered
was
the question there, but yeah.
no, you have, and you've given a lot of context into it,
Mm,
which is great.
mm,
Somebody's asking here about the Silicon Valley. Um, you know, so does he think one day we will have our own Silicon Valley where creative people can thrive and build innovative things that can change the continent? And talking to you right now, I spoke to a man named Talifani Banks.
mm.
Also, like you, he changed his surname,
Oh,
and he used the surname Banks, uh, as in like the bank.
yeah.
Very like-minded with you.
Mm,
He's created this company or group of companies, um, Analytics X, and now he's into Spaza Aids. He's a creator, an innovative, um, and people like you, him. Uh, because what I like also about him is that he's using his companies to solve the socio-economic issues that we have. Like Spaza Aids
mm.
is more into the townships. Um, it's also a tech retail, but more based in the townships. And, people are going to be using bicycles to make orders and deliver orders and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And I feel like
yeah.
there's a lot of you guys that if we can take you guys and put you guys in a room,
Mm.
surely, man, some very fantastic stuff can kind of come out of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's happening. It's actually happening. If you really look, I was once involved in an NGO called Africa Teen Geeks, where they're trying to introduce the ideas of computer science at an early age, the idea of coding at an early age. And while I was in that NGO, while I was with them, I noticed that that community does exist. That's how I knew about the startup community in Nigeria, that these people are there and they get together um, regularly. So to answer the viewer's question, yes, our Silicon Valley is like a Wakanda. You don't see it, but it's there. It's there. It's just secretly building. It's secretly building. So yeah, it'd probably be Wakanda Valley or something. We'll call it that, but it's there. It's there, and like-minded people are gathering, and to be all hippie and spiritual. The universe is, it's making the things, and people are getting together. And especially with your platform, that's one vehicle where they are meeting. And people, even someone who's seeing this, now they know of a banks. Now they'll probably approach a banks with an idea, and now they'll know, you know what I mean? So it's all happening, and it's all happening, and it's yeah. So we do have a secret Silicon Valley.
Yeah, man. I mean, that will be um, very great initiative because a lot of our problems, man, some of them they can be a lot of our problems, most of them they need innovation and of course
Mm,
money and stuff like that. But a lot of our problems, they need people like you who can so there must be a lot of collaborative efforts and like you're saying that because I've been to IBM a couple of
mm,
times and yeah, and the guys there, man, when you get in there, like the energy is different, man. The
yes.
energy is like you want to get out of there and you go and think deep to be like, hey, what am I creating? Because like the
Mm,
energy there is just, I don't know if you've ever been into an environment whereby, and I get this a lot when I attend entrepreneurial seminars. You leave there,
mm.
man, thinking that tomorrow you're starting a very big four company. That's how hyped you get.
Yeah, yeah. It's the energies. Yeah,
The
yeah,
energy, man, is too powerful. You
yeah.
know.
It is.
Uh,
Yeah, for sure. Mm. So what did I want to say? Uh, I forgot. Sorry, it just left my mind though.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so those were the questions. Let me see if I'm not leaving any of the questions. Uh, okay, so I know this are just somebody replying to this question as well.
Mm,
Um, and stuff. So yeah, man. Thank you very much, man. Thank you very much. I really appreciate this. And sometimes I feel like I'm doing this for myself for some reason because I actually every time I record an episode, I come out of it a different person. Like it's
mm.
like I always learn something. I always connect something, and I'm like, it's more like this is for me, but I know this is for everyone who watches this. But I never thought that this would be for me. I actually
Oh,
used to think that this is for the students, but now I'm finding that actually I'm even picking much more and making more sense of more with this kind of
yeah,
conversation. So
yeah.
same with this one. I think there's a couple of things that are making more sense to me
Mm.
that I've learned and stuff like that. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your journey, sharing your insights, your experiences, and your expertise. Man, this goes a long way. You don't have any idea, man. This is going a
No,
long
I
way.
can see. No, I can see, man. Like what you've built is amazing. What you've built is huge, and the fact that a lecturer is doing it, you know what I mean? Someone who spends the time with the students on a daily basis or on a weekly basis is amazing. It's not just, a guy in Jay. It's someone who actually spends time with the student. That's what you're doing. I mean, like I am honored to be here, dog. What you're doing is great, dude. What you're doing is amazing. And
I
may
mean,
you continue to grow, bro, and like inspire other children to know what, because university is a confusing place to get into. And this channel, if I had this channel, I would have really appreciated. And it's so niche too. I never thought a lecturer would do this, but it's so cool.
my
Yeah.
thing is we don't have to go through. I mean, people after us don't have to go through what we went through.
What we went through, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Exactly,
like
dog.
we need to try to. I mean, we can't be going through the same thing and then we leave the generations that come after us to also go through
Mm.
the very same thing, then
Yeah,
where are we going as a people? Like there's nowhere we're
exactly.
going. You
Yeah,
get what I'm saying? So
I get
that's the whole um, theme of this. But yeah, no man, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your words, and this was amazing.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. This was cool. Thank you for having me, dog. This was awesome.